Okay, well, we're back at it again. We have another completed New York Art Gallery abstract, or we have the beginnings of an actual painting. Don't know yet. We'll see. But I think it's safe to say that's kind of what we're up to. Foam brush again. I had a little bit of yellow ochre, a little bit of burnt sienna, and some ultramarine blue still on my palette. So I thought, well, why not use them up? When they sit on your palette, they just dry up. So if I put them on the canvas, they just dry up. I'd rather they dry up on my canvas than on the palette. Get my brush a little bit saturated with the color here, so that I don't have turpentine running down off my canvas. Or at least not too much of it. Whoops, that happens so easily. Because it's a plan, I'm planning to make a horizontal painting, a horizontal scene. I've just decided to go with the yellow ochre and a bit of burnt sienna up top, and I've introduced the blue more towards the bottom. If that's a wise decision or not, we'll see. You never know. I don't know what I'm going to put on it yet. I'm planning on using a brush to paint this, but the subject matter I'm not sure yet. I'll go through some photos. If I end up deciding that the photos I come across, if I end up deciding a vertical, then yeah, I guess it was kind of silly to stain it this way. But that's okay. I won't change the stain anyway. I'll just work with what I got. My turpentine is dirty, so that's why you're seeing some of these dirty strokes on there. Streaks, whatever you want to call it. I don't let it bother me. It's just a stain. If I'm going to use a brush, I'm most likely going to have this whole canvas stained, and then I'm probably going to go into it with dark lines to get things organized. So I'm not too worried. Even if I'm going to use a knife, I'll probably do something along those lines. So thankfully, it's not something I stress out about until I have to stress out about it. Well, I think it was in my yellow ochre. I ended up with a lot of little bits and pieces here and there. I am not going to worry about it. What I can do, I'll pick a few off, but what you can do once it's stained, and the stain is more or less dry, I'll just go through it and flick little bits off. Those little bits will come off easily. So I'm not going to concern myself. And again, I'm just kind of doing this so that I don't have too much sort of hints of what kind of a composition I want on there. Terps in there. Getting into the blues now a little bit. Boy, I did end up with a lot of yellow ochre on here. I actually cleaned out what was on my palette and I added a little more yellow ochre out of the tube as well. So that's why it's looking a bit. Such a large area of yellow ochre. Oh yeah, just had to make sure I was recording. Starting to forget those things sometimes. What I don't want is to run through a little bit of paint and end up with a thick layer. I want to make sure that I'm bringing it right down to the canvas. See, I'm kind of working the brush around it enough that I don't have any measurable thickness of paint on there. I'm not a fan of that because then you're not staining it anymore. Then you're actually putting a layer of paint on. I don't want that. No, thank you. Okay. These brushes are so weak. They, on a canvas this size, which isn't even very big, it's a 24 by 36. By the time I have the staining done, this brush is pretty much toast. And I just picked up several bags of these at what, a dollar, what was it, like $1.70 each at a local dollar store. If you go to a hardware store, you'll probably pay, oh yeah, each bag was $1.70. The same bag at, for example, Canadian Tire or a hardware store, you're looking at more like $10. Welcome to Canada. Okay. Try to get the excess out of there. See, the paint it's not transparent, but it's almost transparent. It's translucent. That's kind of the thing that we want. Now if I do this and I bend it very strong, that brush wouldn't even last the entire canvas. So I have to keep it fairly parallel to the canvas itself. Oh, you know, I got a comment from somebody, or a request actually, that I do a video regarding mixing colors. And I answered in the comments section that this is, you know, I don't, this isn't a painting channel, or this isn't a teaching channel. I'm not going to do sort of online workshops. For me, that takes too much work, and frankly, that's something that I would want to get paid for. And I'm not set up for it, and I'm not that interested in it. I like doing it. I don't like teaching it. Seeing as I can do, I don't teach. You know that old saying, if you can't do, you can, if you can't do, then teach? Well, I can do, so. Not to say I haven't held some workshops, you know, physical, in-person workshops over the years, but for the most part, it's just what I do. And, you know, as you know, if you've been the follower of the channel at all for any length of time, you'll know that as I go through paintings, I generally try to drop some useful information to people. You know, if they like the results of what I do, then I can certainly help by saying, well, you know, I'm not telling you how to paint, but this is how I do it. That's all it is. There are many, many, many channels out there that will give instruction on, you know, how to paint this, how to mix colors, how to do various things. And there are many more that claim the same, but they're pretty useless. But anyway, there are plenty to show you how to mix paint and what colors do what. Let's just actually, having said that, let's just talk about blues as far as how I use them. When you stand outside and you look straight up on a blue sky, on a clear blue sky, you will see that it goes deeper, richer, and tends to go a little more purple. As you reach the horizon, because you're looking through so much more atmosphere, it tends to go more towards cobalt blue. So ultramarine blue, that deep blue up top, and then as you get towards the horizon, I use more cobalt blue. It's a little greenish. It leans towards green. The ultramarine blue leans towards red, leans towards purple a little bit. Now that's sort of my go-to. However, you can also use variations of phthalo blue, but phthalo blue is also quite greenish. I will use that sparingly. I'll use that sort of towards the end of a painting because it's such a high chroma. It has the potential to be such high chroma that that's where I use it. Very strong. It can look very much like candy, depending on how it's used. And also, what am I thinking of a blue right now that I just can't remember what the name of it is. It's so commonly used, it's crazy. It's used, I don't use it that much, but a lot of people use it a lot of the time. Why the heck can't I think of it? I did come across an old tube of it kicking around here recently. A small tube. No, I don't know. Can't remember. Anyway, that blue, whatever the name of it is also a good. I've seen beautiful paintings done using that blue as the depth of sky. It's not as sort of cartoonish as ultramarine blue. It's a little deeper, a little bit richer. It's almost a little bit dirty, but not quite. I don't use it because when you mix it with other colors, it tends to go a little bit dirty. Cerulean blue. I've seen very few professionals use a whole pile of cerulean blue. Now, if you go to buy true cerulean blue, if you're going to pay for that, boy, you're going to pay through the nose for that. What you'll buy these days, for the most part, will be cerulean blue hue. And on its own, it's fine. But it's another one that if you can find the real McCoy, actual cerulean blue, beautiful color, but you know, you're going to pay, I don't know, $80 for a little tube like this. So I do have a tube of cerulean blue, but it's a tube this size, and it was probably 22 or 25 bucks or something when I bought it. It's probably 40 bucks now, I don't know. But it doesn't mix well, and I always like a color to be able to hold its own when you're mixing it with other colors. I you know, in certain cases you want them to become a little bit muddy, a little bit dirty, but you don't want that in too much excess. Cerulean blue, a real cerulean blue, like on a prairie scene, where it goes fantastically when juxtapositioned against a nice gold, you know, like this, or yellow ochre, or cadmium yellow, or cad yellow medium, you know, or even cad orange. That true cerulean blue is it's just perfect, you know. Those two work very well together. But then you need a range of blues in your sky. The sky isn't one blue. It's always, you know, minimum 2 different blues and variations thereof, because you might add a little yellow ochre, you might add a little bit of alizarin crimson, you know. There's so many possibilities there. And you know, and that's another reason that there is so much to say about this stuff. There would be long videos delving very specifically into certain colors, and I'm not going to do that. There's plenty out there on the internet for that. You can see it. Let me turn this a little bit my way. You know, I'm just a guy who invites you to come along with me and just see what's happening as the painting develops. And if you have questions, ask in the comments, you know, and I'll try to answer them. I'm a one-finger typer, so I don't type out large paragraphs in the comments. If it seems to be something I'm comfortable with doing, I'll just do it on an actual video. You know, that's I'd rather talk than type. I can tell you that much. But yeah, I don't want to get into, you know, if I were actually to do an actual color mixing video, we'd be talking about value scales, chroma scales, how each of them work together. We'd be talking about the color circle. It's essentially color theory, and that's a big category. So it's not something you wrap up quickly. And if you try to summarize it all, then, you know, if I were to try to summarize it all, I would really shortchange you guys in my explanation. I don't want to do that. Do your homework. Just do your own work. Do your own homework. Leave me alone. That's not true. But yeah, that's a bit involved for me. I'm not interested in a teaching channel. Maybe one day I'll do such a thing. But then it would be, you know, I'd be involved. I would be setting up my channel for a Patreon account and all that kind of stuff. I'm a simple guy. I like a simple life. I like this. I like doing, not teaching. Nah, that's not true. I have enjoyed teaching in the past at times, but for the most part, this is what I want to do. So, I guess that's it. This is ready to have the little bleebles of junk scraped off tomorrow, and there didn't end up being too many of them. And I'm going to go have a look at some of my photographs. I really don't know what I'm going to paint. This time there may be a shed in it. You know, maybe not. One thing I feel fairly confident in is that I would like to do something with rocks and trees and water and sky. What a surprise, eh? What a change. And maybe a shed, and maybe not. I love rock structure. That's always fun to do. I love crazy skies. But I just did a big sky. We'll see. I don't know. Depends on what the mood strikes. I don't plan days in advance. I always I come down and have a look at my canvas in the morning, and I decide pretty much within a few minutes or an hour or so what I'm going to draw on there, and then I'll start to play on it. And if I've looked at a bunch of photographs and gotten some inspiration from them, then odds of me copying a photograph are pretty much nothing, pretty much next to nothing anyway. But you know, to see that information is sometimes pretty inspiring. And I live in a beautiful part of the world here, so there's no shortage of inspiration. Anyway, see you soon. Oh yeah, so important, eh? I mean, I'm sure that you're going to appreciate this this work of art. See, it's a sunrise on a foggy morning, or something. Maybe I shouldn't do any zoomies. See you soon.